Good morning. Good morning. Can you guys hear me? Will someone let me know? Can you hear me?
I can, darling. How are you?
Okay, thank you. Good. How are you?
Mhm. Fabulous. Good to see your beautiful face and hear those birds.
Oh, I know. Aren't
So
they
beautiful.
sweet?
Yeah, amazing.
Sometimes
Good to
I get so
see.
used to them that I don't really even notice until, like, if I listen to a little bit of the video playback and I'm like, oh, they're
Yeah,
very
they
sweet.
really sing.
Hmm. Okay. How is everyone? Hanging in there? I'm going to give it, a couple minutes for people to get on. Um, so if I don't know you yet, I am Jessica, and I'm just doing these sessions for us. Really, no, I don't really have a formal structure for them. Probably a little bit of talking, and then definitely some breath and meditation. And specifically today, I want to work with using the breath in a in an intentional way to calm, like calm panic if we need to. It's a really good tool to have in our arsenal. Um, and then also using the breath sort of as a way to allow ourselves to be led out of the mind and out of the mind story and into the body and into the present moment. And then whatever else kind of comes through. Okay. I'm just making sure all my things are set correctly. Well, it's good to see all you, and it's been lovely to connect with everyone, in the web spheres. Um, there's so much there's so much creativity I feel like happening right now online. It's interesting. It's sweet. Yeah. Good morning, and you're welcome. I'm happy to be here with you guys. Hi from London. Hi, Lauren. Is it Lauren Rebecca? So, yeah, as we go through today, in general, the breath that I've been doing lately is a really gentle breath that everyone can do. If we go into anything that might involve holds or something like that, and sometimes there's contraindications with those, like if you're pregnant or moon cycle, blood pressure, things like that. I will let you know as we go along. But in general, I've really just felt called to do super gentle breath that really relaxes the nervous system. It can be helpful sometimes to do more dynamic breath and really move energy through the system, but right now we're so activated anyways, just the collective, even if you're not personally feeling activated, certainly the collective nervous system is really activated right now, that I feel like it's a good time to just keep dropping into things that calm and cool. Hi, Maria from Mexico. And hello from Peru. Oh, we have such a I don't even know. All around the world. How sweet. Okay. I'd like to just start us today just in a prayer. Um, and just creating this space. So if you want to close your eyes with me, and this prayer really has nothing to do with any kind of deity. So feel open to adjusting as you need to. And prayer to me is really just this attitude of like deep reverence. So just closing your eyes and allowing the body to get really still. And inviting the mind also to start to still. Creating and holding this space, this circle with each other in this deep reverence of prayer, in a space of kindness and compassion and love and honoring ourselves and each other and our experiences. And also giving honor and thanks to all of the many energies and beings that support us. So the earth, the grass and the trees and the flowers and the birds and the sky and the clouds and the stars and the cosmos and whatever you call God and the elements and the ancestors. All of the creatures and the beings and the forms that walk with us, that share in this dance with us. Honoring them, thanking them, and allowing ourselves to really feel that connection. How there is no part that is not intertwined with the rest of it. This intricate web of life from which we can never escape. You could never situate yourself in some sort of way that you are not connected to the rest. So just feeling those lines like a webbing. And how we are never alone. And again, honoring that connection and giving thanks for it. And honoring this space that we're creating here together, intentionally holding it in the highest good for all. I declare that only what is for the highest good of all may enter this space. So it is. Okay. So before I talk more, does anyone have anything really burning that you want to share, or a question? Um, if so, now's a good time. No? Okay. If something comes up later, we'll have some time to talk probably at the end, and you can always throw a question in the chat box, and I'll try to get to it later. So yeah, like I said, I want to use I want to work with the breath in this really intentional way of how we practice coming away from the mind and away from panic. And these I talk a lot about and teach a lot about allowing, really meeting what's arriving without attempting to manipulate it or change it. But there are times where we need to sort of take command of the mind and rein it in. So when I'm talking about allowing and meeting what's happening, normally what I'm talking about is meeting what's happening in the body, and then also an experience, as in like what's outside of you, so how life is presenting itself to you in your direct experience. So what you can hear, see, taste, touch, that's the experience. The mind is a whole different thing. And we have both these, I think it's really important to stay sensitive. And so much of what ends up being communicated in a lot of spiritual practice, a lot of mindfulness practice, and maybe even sort of into the wellness world, is a lot of what's communicated, I think, starts to disconnect us from our life and from our experience and desensitize us, right? So if we're really wrapped up in sort of this, the language of like lower vibration, higher vibration, and this thought of always choosing a higher vibration in particular, I think this is a good example. What that starts to do is really desensitize us to our life as it's arising. And that doesn't need to happen, and you don't want it to happen, for a few reasons. One, that this body-mind system is really highly intelligent, and we lose that in the way that we talk about it a lot, right? Like we're always choosing something better, or learning how to do something better, or be better. But these systems are really highly intelligent. So we don't want to desensitize ourselves to the communication from our body, from our nervous system. We want to be receiving that communication very clearly. We just also want to know how to process it, how to respond to that communication. So when we're talking about things like fear, which is a sort of the big topic right now, there's this biological fear where your body mind, so your body and your brain and your nervous system are responding to something which has made it believe that it's in danger, and it's giving you signals of danger, right? This is like a biological fear. We want to be sensitive to that because it's how we keep ourselves safe and alive. So we don't want to numb that, and we don't want to make that wrong so much that we stop listening to those signals. There's this other kind of fear, though, that is generated in the mind, and the body can still respond because the body doesn't really know what is happening in real life outside of us and what is happening in the mind. So the mind, when it goes into fear, can go into fear based on things that aren't really happening, because the mind is like always forward or always back. The mind can't be present. When you happen to be able to be present, it's actually not with the mind, it's with something else. The mind's forward or back. So when the mind is spinning off into stories, future projections, or like ruminating on the past, stories that cause it to be afraid, the body responds in a way as if it's, it's really happening. So this is something that we can learn to work with. And this is the place where we learn to kind of command things. And that can be confusing sometimes to people. So I just really wanted to clarify the difference between what we're allowing and what we're sort of directing. And why we want to direct the mind is, again, because it's not reality. We want to allow reality, allow what's happening in our life as much as we can, open to it and allow it. But the mind's not reality, it's just a story. So we can use the breath when the mind sort of spins itself out into panic. We can use the breath to calm everything back down and be in the moment. And that's really useful because, like, we all know that when you have a lot of fear going on, it's very hard to think clearly or to act clearly. And if we are truly in a situation of danger, we want to be able to think and act clearly. So this is something very good to practice. And if we're not in a situation of danger, then we obviously don't want to be putting ourselves through all of that just because the mind is in fantasy. The minds are funny because if you look, it really just seems to be addicted to drama. Because you can kind of ask itself, like, why does the mind even spin out on these things? That why would it grab onto a story about fear or about pain or about grief or loss or whatever it is that seems unpleasant and elicits this unpleasant experience for you? But the mind will sometimes grab onto those things and just spin them and spin them and spin them, and it's really this sort of bizarre happening, and yet it's what the minds do. So we'll practice that today, using the breath to calm that mind story, and then using the breath to drop us into the body and into the moment and out of the mind story. The mind story, this kind of constant thought, or really spinning out in stories, which a lot of times is what brings us into this state of high anxiety or fear. It's not reality, and that's why we let it go, right? And this is really important to understand. If that feels odd to you or foreign to you, then I really invite you to investigate that. And one way that you can do it that's really simple is, I think we practiced this a little bit last week. If you can just for a moment or two kind of wipe thought out of your mind. So for a moment or two, just see if you can make the mind go blank and notice what does not disappear when that happens. So if you have no thought, and I'm not expecting you to like keep your mind blank for a large period of time, but even just for a few seconds, if you have no thought, what is still here? And you don't have to even answer that, but just notice. That's what reality is. And also look at, when no thought, what disappears? The mind can go blank for a few moments. What disappears out of your experience? So even when we have something that is genuinely, that might elicit, a real genuine response of fear, even if that occurs, if we understand the working of this mind, and if we're practiced in kind of letting go of the mind story. And it's not that we have to make the mind go blank like that, like we just practiced. That's just a little window. We're not attempting to stop thought. That's insanity. Thought's not going to stop. It's going to keep going. We are, we're coming into a new relationship with it. And the more that you see the stuff of the mind is not real, the less you will care to pay attention to it. You know, and at first it's hard to move attention away from the mind. But again, the more that you see that it's not real and you start to play with that and practice that and get that, then you no longer really want your attention to be in the mind. You want your attention to be here with your life, with reality. So once you get, you know, practiced at that, then even if something does happen that genuinely elicits a fear response, you'll notice the response of like the body and the mind, what we call fear, in this biological way. Let's say there is danger, like actual danger, and you have a biological response of fear. What we call fear is really this broad term. If we get out of the mind and we go into direct experience, it's actually just, oh, my heart's racing. I'm breathing faster. I feel very alert. These are the actual experiences. The fear, this thing we call fear, is kind of always in the mind. So again, I want to kind of play with that a little bit so you can experience for yourself. It doesn't really help much just to hear somebody talk about it. You got to get it like viscerally. So we'll play with that a little bit in meditation and with the breath today. And one of the hard things to do for me as a teacher is that I both want to give you tools that are practical and usable to help you navigate challenging times. And I've been really lucky to gather a lot of these tools myself. I've also had many opportunities, many challenges through which I've been able to practice these tools. So I know the value in them, and I want to share them with you because they are immediate and they're needed. You know, the human landscape is so difficult, and we aren't given a guidebook when we're born that's like, here's how you be human. Here's how you relate to your mind and your body. Here's how you deal with all these challenging things. So I want to give you these tools. And then also, there's a deeper element, a deeper aspect, which is that when you know through experience, not through the mind, right? Not just because you've like heard it, but when you know through your own direct experience who and what you really are, then all of this stuff that we're talking about, that we're kind of learning these tools to navigate, no longer becomes problematic. And it's not that there aren't challenges. It's not that there isn't fear or there isn't grief or there isn't whatever may arise that's unpleasant. But those things are no longer a problem. So we can, as humans, we will be endlessly kind of gathering tools and trying to figure out how to do this human thing. I don't think that work ever ends. And so if we get too lost on this idea of needing to fix ourselves, like as if there's some optimal human state in which we're not going to encounter suffering or pain or fear. If we get too lost in that, then we might miss this experience, which is the encountering the true self. So I want you to have the tools because I do think they're practically necessary. But I don't want you to mistake the tools for for something that's going to permanently alleviate you and create you into this perfect human. This sense of feeling okay that we're looking for and that we're longing for, that we seem to have this like innate movement towards, like this doesn't feel right. That sense of okay is sort of filled out by experiencing who and what you really are. So in these sessions with you, my hope is to give you the tools, to help manage the human situation right now, and then also to be sort of pointing at the deeper elements here. So what I'd like to ask of you is that if you can, while we're here together, that you do try to listen, not with the mind, not with the intellect, but with the body, and see if you can, be in this space and meet what we're doing and meet what I'm sharing in a way that you feel it, that you encounter it. It's more of encountering it even with the body than with the mind and the intellect, because that way you'll get the tools and you'll get this deeper movement, this deeper transmission. And then when we use the tools too, I think what can be helpful is that instead of using them as I'm somehow broken and I need to fix myself, instead of the tools being a method of fixing something that isn't working right, we can sort of readjust how we look at that and see it as the tools being coming from compassion for ourselves and for our human experience, which is so often incredibly difficult, and that is not escapable. And no matter how many tools you have, no matter how spiritual you are, no matter how awake you are, it's not escapable. It just ceases to be so heavy and so personal. From the perspective of the true self, even the difficulty is so beautiful. That spirit, that God can be in flesh and form and encounter all of what is here. The joy and the sorrow, the pleasure and the pain, all of it is infinitely beautiful. And from that true self, meeting that is like, there's no protection from it. It will break your heart into 10,000 pieces and you'll just say more, because it's that fucking beautiful. So that, meeting that really is you, that is me, that is you, that is all of us, meeting that resolves all of this being a problem. So I don't want us to get so wrapped up in all of the fixing and the tools that we miss that part. And I also want us to have the tools because sometimes we just need them to get through a day or a moment. So the tools are like a gift of compassion to ourselves in the moments that are incredibly hard. They don't need to be fixing anything. Okay. I had a question. Will you address the tsunami you mentioned the other day? What we may feel or when? Well, I don't want to tell you what you'll feel or when, because your experience is your experience. I mentioned a tsunami that I felt coming that was just deep grief and fear. And yeah, so these practices that we'll do in just a minute help us to hold steady when those really big waves come at us. And I actually learned I learned first to breathe through a series of recurring dreams that I had. And they were, they weren't the same dream every time, but there was a period of 2 years that I had these recurring tsunami dreams. And these dreams were training and I would say initiation in a way. They started sort of like at the a basic level and got deeper and deeper. They started with exactly actually what we'll do today, which is learning to use the breath to come out of panic in the mind, and be present in the moment. So releasing releasing that fear cycle in the mind. And then the dream series ended with a training in how to breathe underwater, which of course is impossible. So it was actually a training in how to die with calm and presence. They were really intense. They were not like normal dreams at all. You know, they were very, very lucid dreams. And I didn't know it at the time, but when the dream series ended, something happened in my life, which was really the most difficult thing I've encountered in my life, the most difficult period of time, which was absolutely a tsunami of grief that I had to navigate through. It's a really, really hard, really dark period of time for me, and those dreams, I think, saved me. So that was sort of my first real breath training, was what those dreams taught me to do and allowed me to practice within the dream space, so then I could then use it in my life space. So that is really this idea of holding the center, right? And this is a sort of we can call it our Aquarian kind of warriorship, which is being so deeply rooted in our own center, in our own sense of peace and calm and trust, that we can just hold the center, and no matter what might come at us, we're not broken by it, right? We don't move. That no matter what might come at us, we're so rooted in our own center, and it's not an act of willfulness either. You know, it's not like something's coming at us and we're like, no, we're not going to move, and we willfully hold our place. It's that if you are really deeply grounded in your own center, then you are the center. You are the center. How can you move? What's there to move? You're the center. There's no moving. So this, of course, is you know, something that takes some time to practice usually, although it doesn't have to. And the breath is really helpful in connecting with that, because it is a practice in teasing apart our identity with this mind and into experience, into the moment. Pam says, thank you. A lot of collective waves of grief dreams have been calling out to my spirit guides to help me through. Yeah, so there is a lot of deep fear and deep grief moving through the collective, and you know, maybe you're experiencing this personally, maybe you're just experiencing it via, you know, being tapped into the collective. Certainly it's going to be touching all of our lives right now, so it's such a good time to come together and hold space for one another and give each other support and love and do this work and learn it, because you know, it's necessary work. So I really feel like let's just quit fucking around and learn it. Like, let's get these lessons, let's do it. No time to waste. Really no time to waste. And this is something I haven't said yet. I get a lot of messages. I don't always share them. Big message that I felt coming through is part of what's happening here. You know, one of the things that's really important is to pay attention to what we are being called to learn or master or change in our life, and to not ignore that. Like, really don't fuck around. Don't ignore your messages. Don't ignore what you're being called to do right now. You're going to need that in the not so far future. And you're not going to want to end up in that space having missed this opportunity to gather those skills. So like whatever is coming through, like, you know, hitting at you to pay attention to, whether it's, I mean, it could be like a change in your lifestyle, or it could be an interchange, I don't know, whatever, the whole gamut, whatever it is that is coming through, don't ignore it. Okay. All right, let's do some breath. I'm gonna have you lay down, please, if you can. So if you want to sit up, that's okay. I think that this can be easier laying down. So if you'd like to lay down and you have room to lay down, go ahead. If not, you can do it sitting up. And at first, I just want you to come into your body and come into your breath and just notice. Just notice the rhythm and sort of the shape and the quality and the essence of your breath as it is right now. And without changing anything, just meeting it, but taking note of anywhere it might feel tight or constricted. Noticing where it likes to move in the body right now and where it might be avoiding. And I think the best way to kind of share this practice as I was taught it is to really teach it the same way I learned it. So we're going to go through this little guided meditation with this tsunami and practice the breath with that. So I want you to imagine, just in your mind's eye, just imagine you're standing on a beach and you're going to feel the sand beneath you, the hot sun on your back, your skin is warm, you smell the salt in the air. And you look out towards the horizon and you start to notice a wave coming in. And the wave is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you start to feel a little bit worried, a little bit afraid. You look around you. Nobody else seems to notice. Nobody else seems to pay attention. You look back at the horizon and it's growing. It's getting taller and it's coming closer. And again, you look around you. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to be paying attention. You wonder if you could run, if you should run, what is happening. There are no signs what you should do. Probably you can't run, you think. Probably there's nothing you can do. And then before you know it, this wave comes and it grabs you. And the next time you peek your head up, you're a mile from the shore, maybe more. You can see people standing on the beach, little tiny dots. You know you're too far to swim. You start to scream, try to get their attention, calling to them. But nobody hears you. Nobody seems to have noticed what just happened. Nobody's paying attention. They couldn't even know that you were there if they knew to look. You're so far out, so tiny. They're so tiny, so far away from the shore. And you look around you, maybe there's a boat. No, there's no boat. Maybe there's a plane. No, there's no plane. And you feel the panic and the fear and the worry in your body. You have no idea what to do. You have no idea how to save yourself. There's nobody around. There is nobody that you can call to. There's nothing that can be done. A seagull flies overhead. He doesn't notice. He doesn't care. And your mind runs through all the possible scenarios of how you might be able to get help. But you know that you can't. And so now you realize you are stuck out in this ocean. And in this moment, there is nobody that could save you. And you can't save yourself. But you know that you cannot bear to feel this fear for another moment. Perhaps if you wait long enough, a boat will come along, or a plane, or maybe the ocean will just gently deliver you back onto the beach. But until then, you feel like this fear is going to kill you. This fear is going to be the end of you. It's unbearable. So now I want you to feel your body. And I want you to notice your mind. And then I want you to bring your attention to the breath. And I want you to very intentionally start to deepen the breath. And now you're going to hold your awareness, hold your attention on the breath. With the mind tracing the inhale, and tracing the exhale. And if you start to get pulled back into thought, pulled back into story in the mind, you're going to very intentionally bring awareness back to the breath. Like it's the only thing in the world. Nothing else exists but this breath moving through your body, the sound of the breath, the way your body moves to make space for it. And start to slow the breath even more. Start to make the exhale very, very slow and long. Keeping the attention trained on the breath and nothing else for right now. And notice how the body starts to relax. You don't even have to tell it to. But when our attention comes out of the mind and away from thought and rests in the breath, the whole body, the whole nervous system naturally relaxes. And you can notice how you're still in the exact same situation you were just a few minutes ago. You're still miles out in the middle of the ocean all by yourself. And yet you are not in this moment gripped by panic. Nothing has changed outwardly. You have only removed yourself from the story in your mind and brought your attention to the breath. But notice how different it feels. Notice how different your relationship to your experience is all of a sudden. And maybe the mind tries to pull you back. And you steer your awareness to the breath, really committing to the breath. There's only you and this breath. You and this breath and the sound of this breath and the way that the body responds to this breath. And pulling the breath now down all the way to the belly. So really feeling the belly fill. And then the rib cage expands. And then the heart lifts a little bit. And then the breath falls out of you. Pulling the breath all the way down to the lower belly, feeling the lower belly, feeling it rise up. Rib cage expands, the ribs move out to the side, the solar plexus stretches up, the heart lifts, and then the breath falls out of you. Really filling the lower belly and then really stretching the lower rib cage. So the very bottom ribs, stretch them. Might be awkward if you're not practiced at this, that's okay. Stretch them. Allow the whole torso to fill. Heart lifts and relax. And you can start to notice how the rhythm of your breath in the body is beginning to mimic the rhythm of the ocean beneath you. So this gentle undulation, you in the water, you in the ocean, and the breath in you. And you feel the body start to relax even more. And maybe this doesn't make any sense to the mind. But what is your other choice? You can be in this situation and be panicked, or you can be in this situation and be here. And as the body relaxes, you start to feel safe being in it, just in this moment. In this moment, right here, right now, can you be fully in your body? Can you bring awareness fully into your body and just feel what is here? Maybe you do feel fear in your body. Maybe there's a sense of alert or alarm. Maybe there's some contraction. Maybe there's some electric kind of feeling. And see if you can just move into that space. So whatever it is that you are experiencing or encountering in your body, see if you can just move closer to it. And keep breathing very deeply, filling the lower belly, stretching the rib cage to the side, filling the whole torso. And then with your attention, with your awareness, becoming very intimate with the experience of being in your body right now. And letting go any thoughts about what that might mean, about what is arriving or arising. Letting go of the thoughts about it. Letting go of any kind of judgment. You can even let go of wording. But just being present to the feeling as sensation. As direct sensation. And then inviting yourself to get even closer now. And closer. Getting so close that you can no longer find any space of separation between the experience or the sensation and you. So getting so close that no space exists any longer. And then breathe into that. Let the mind go. Let the thoughts go. We're doing this with something else now. And even if the feeling is something that is uncomfortable to you or undesirable to you, and practice letting go of that that idea that you even know what it is or what it means, and try moving closer to it. Maybe you have no idea what it is. Maybe you have no idea what it means. You will never know by retreating from it. You can only know if you move closer, if you encounter it. And if you get caught up in mind again and come back to this breath, tracing the breath with the mind, it's like an anchor out of mind story, back into the body, back into the moment. So whenever you get lost again in thought, then just really intentionally bring your awareness back to the breath and allow the breath to lead you. Now, as you come to inhabit your body fully, you can notice how to the body, to the skin, the water, that silky cool water feels pleasurable. Feel that cool water on your back. Feel how the skin responds to it. Feel how your body is held by the ocean. And you can feel that gentle rocking, that undulation, that rhythm of the water. And then notice what the sun feels like on your face. Notice what the warmth of the sunlight on your face feels like. And you can look at the sky, notice the blue of the sky, and the gentleness of the clouds. So you can notice all of these sensations that are here in experience for you in the body, even though your situation hasn't changed. And notice how when awareness is soft and open, when it is willing to meet everything that is arising, how so much more becomes available. Maybe there is fear, maybe there is contraction, but there is also beauty, there is also pleasure. All right, keep pulling the breath all the way down to the belly. Really stretch the rib cage. So the bottom of the rib cage expanding out to the sides as the lower belly comes up, and then the heart. And then exhale. And now we're going to do that same rhythm of breath, really inhaling very powerfully though. And then hold the breath for just a moment and bring awareness into the heart, into the heart space. Just hold it there for a moment and then exhale as slowly and silently as you possibly can. Almost as if the breath is not even happening hardly. So slowly, so quietly. And when the breath is fully out, inhale again. Fill the belly, stretch the rib cage. Move awareness to the heart. Hold the breath for just a moment. Notice what the heart feels like by direct contact. So none of our ideas of heart. What is the experience there? And then exhale slowly as you possibly can, so quietly. And when the breath is fully out again, inhaling, stretch the rib cage. Bring awareness to the heart. Letting go of ideas of the heart. Meeting what is actually there for you. And then exhaling as slowly as possible. As quietly as possible. And then again. Awareness to the heart. Notice how nothing moves in the heart. It's not really emotion. It's not really love. Those things are in our mind. Feel what the heart actually feels like. And then exhaling as slowly as possible. And as you exhale, really relax the base of the body, so that area of the perineum. So the base of the body, particularly in between the sex organs and the anus, I want you to really relax that. I know we do a lot of pulling up often in yogic practice and other breath practices. I want you to relax it really deeply. Good, and keeping that relaxed inhale. Filling the belly, expanding the rib cage to the side, moving awareness to the heart. Relax the perineum, like really deeply relax. And then exhale very slowly, very quietly. And then again, inhale. And you don't actually have to do this on my rhythm. Relaxing the perineum. Letting the breath fall out of you so gently and quietly and slowly. And then just letting it all go. So every bit of effort, every bit of directing anything, just let it go. Let the body breathe how it wants. Just let it go. Noticing how without your will, the body breathes itself. The heart beats itself. Without your will, you exist. So what's there to hang on to? What needs to grab anything? Is there any part of you outside of your mind that has a need to grab something or change something? Or is it only the mind that thinks this? Is it only the mind that thinks that you need to control some aspect of yourself or your experience? And what happens if you just let go of that thought just for a little bit? Just for a little bit, let go of it. And notice how even if you can let go just for an instant, life keeps on living through you. You can feel yourself held by solid ground now. Feel yourself held by the earth and held by the mother. Notice again your connection to all things. Can you exactly say where you end and something else begins? Not through the mind, but through your direct experience. With the experience of your senses and your body right now, can you pinpoint the exact location where you end and the floor beneath you begins? Or where you end and the air around you begins? Can you find it? What about sound? What is the direct experience of sound? Without the mind telling you what you're hearing or that you're hearing something outside of you. What is the actual experience of the sound? Does it seem to be outside of you? Or does it seem maybe to being heard inside of you? Can you feel the sound? Is there sensation? And if you weren't to know in your mind what that sound was or where it was coming from, what would the experience be? Does your experience tell you it's something separate? Take a deep breath just to kind of re-ground yourself. And exhale. And take your hands on top of your head, just right on the crown of your head. And give yourself love. You can just tell yourself, I love you. And to the forehead, I love you. And putting them over the eyes, sending yourself so much love, so much tenderness. Because really, this is what fills us to be able to do the hard things. It's not dominating our feelings or our will. It's this tenderness and love, this groundedness and this tenderness and love that fills us so that we have the strength to do the hard things. And maybe bringing the hands over the ears and the cheeks and the chin and the jaw and the throat. And the chest and the heart. And down the torso, solar plexus, and the belly. And the pelvic area. And the groin. The hips, the thighs, inside, top, outside, back. And the knees, the shins, the calves, the ankles, tops of the feet, toes, bottoms of the feet. And don't miss a spot. Just really physically pressing love and coming into contact and physical intimacy with your whole body. Like, how often do you touch your body? How often do you physically give your body love? And then coming up the back of the body, the lower back if you can reach it, and the arms, bicep and tricep and elbow and forearms, wrists, fingers, palms, the other side. And if there's somewhere you missed or somewhere that needs more, just going back to that space. And feeling how you can bring to yourself and give to yourself what you need. You know, we're always trying to get this somewhere else, but really we're quite capable of giving it to ourselves. And then when you're ready, just coming back, opening the eyes, or not. If you want to stay resting, that's fine too. So thank you everyone for being here, for joining me in that. If anyone has a question or anything you'd like to share, I will stay on for a few minutes. You're welcome. Yeah, thank you guys for showing up and engaging. Pam says, I began visualizing colors during the breath retention. Peace, peace, peace. Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, I mean, I think in whatever way you can show up for yourself and for your people and also for the collective right now. My invitation to you is to kind of you can use this as a guide. It's a really great guide for it. Is how can you share, or how can you show up? How can you engage from your deepest experience of truth? And that's not anyone else's. That's not the thing you think is most true. From your deepest, like your personal embodied experience of truth, what is the deepest revelation of truth that you have experienced, that you know? And then use that to be the place from which you share and interact and engage right now. Maria says, thank you, amazing experience to feel back to my body, my home. Good, yeah. I invite you to keep coming back. Again, says, thank you, relaxing and grounding. Yeah, good. Hi, Tony again. Thank you, babe. So beautiful. The depths of love I felt for myself. You're a gift in how you ship up for us, show up for us, maybe. Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys for showing up, and thank you for doing this work. And I know some of it is, sometimes the work is like not so, sometimes the good work is not really very sexy, if you know what I mean. It's like not really dramatic and entertaining, and there's a lot of things we can engage in that are maybe more entertaining. Sometimes that entertaining comes of like things that feel good. Sometimes even the entertaining comes of things that don't feel good, but we can kind of get just as caught up in the drama of it. So I have found in my own experience, much to my dismay, if I'm honest, because I like things to feel really intense and entertaining. If I'm honest, I have found that the deepest work and the work that in the end has been most powerful and most meaningful is the really subtle, quiet, gentle work. The stuff that feels like it's not doing so much. That's the stuff that really does something. So yeah, so thank you for being here, and thank you for showing up, and thank you for kind of jumping into this space with me. I never really know what I'm going to do, so so thanks for hopping into the unknown with me. I do think the next session will be kind of working with the unknown, sitting in the unknown, because that's another really huge element here right now, right? Like nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow, even at this point, and that can be really disorienting and uncomfortable. It's also really fabulous. Like it's really wonderful and beautiful, and so we can practice sort of exploring those edges next week, I think. Mandy says, amazing feeling being in the breath retention, to feel a sense of dependability upon the breath I've never felt before. Quote of the day, without my will, I exist. Is that my quote? Did I say that? Something like that, yeah? Yeah. play with that, even just during the day. Notice how you go on and how life goes on through no effort of your own. It's quite amazing. Yeah, and the more that you can experience that, even in these little snippets for yourself, the more control you can, well, the more the idea of control. We're really not controlling so much as we think we are. Even in neuroscience, this is really kind of flipped me out when I learned it. It's a big dive. And I'm not sure if it's entirely accepted or if there's just some neuroscientists that believe this, but they have found that like when we do something, like I say these words or I put my hand up, we think I've decided to put my hand up. And they've actually found that the hand goes up, they don't know how or why, and then the brain and the nervous system so quickly create a reason and a story for why that you think you put the hand up. But actually the hand went up before anything in you decided to do it. Does that make sense? You don't actually decide the things you do, they're finding. It happens, and then like our nervous system needs to think that it's doing it or it's going to freak out. So the brain and the nervous system sort of create a story about why it just did that. So you really are like not in control of most of what you think you are, like to a kind of insanely profound level. So if you caught on to that thread, I invite you to continue to explore it. That's one of what I would call a portal. So there are these like portals, these threads we can catch on to that will lead us, you know, if we're very brave and willing to let go of what we think we know, that will lead us home, that will lead us to that experience of the true self. And that's a portal, the noticing that the living is happening both in you and outside of you without any will of your own. Mandy says, I was guided here through a friend. Would you share before we go how we can connect to these calls in the future? Yeah, I don't have a set schedule. I'm just kind of going what feels right. So on Instagram, I always post things on Instagram, and then I send out an email to my email list. So if you want, you can give me your email, and I will put you on the email list. That's a good way for it. Or my website, which is mantrasandmiracles.com. You can also get there by jessicahesser.com. And then my Instagram, which is at mantrasandmiracles. For now, those are the good places. And yeah, if you want to leave me an email or something, I can send those to you so you have the connections. Okay, thank you, Ashley. Yeah, lovely to see you guys. We have it's been raining here in Hawaii for many, many weeks, and we have some sun, so I'm gonna hop off and go put myself in it. Does anybody have any questions before we go? Sending y'all so much love, and yeah, so much love. Okay, I got your email. I will enjoy the sun. Yeah, the birds are so sweet. They're so sweet. All right, guys, have a lovely day, and I will see you again soon.